Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I will recap the 6th episode of Season 4 of the show titled The Boys. The episode begins with Butcher and Joe Kessler trying to get Vicky's partner Samir to extract the suit virus from the dead sheep and make it more potent. Joe is all about violence while a sick Butcher plays the good cop. Samir says that the virus could take months to build, but Butcher emphasizes that he only has a week to do it. Before leaving due to his bad health, he tells Joe to torture Samir some more. Meanwhile, the boys and Daphne give Huey Sr. the funeral he wanted, sprinkling his ashes at Maid and Manhattan shooting locations. During that, Starlight faces backlash from some Firecracker supporters, but Huey provides her full support. As they walk, a heartbroken Kimiko is seen as she is hurt that Frenchie turned himself in without telling her and explaining anything. On top of that, he refuses to see her in jail. When the supervisor tells her that she needs to leave the premises, Kimiko does not budge and waits for Frenchie to meet with her. On the other hand, Firecracker replaces Cameron Coleman on VNN as he is already dead, killed by Homelander. She starts preaching her propaganda, and her news segments have MM trying to meditate. Soon he is interrupted by a call from A-Train, who is panicking as Coleman was killed because they framed him as the leak. MM tries to calm him down, but in turn panics as A-Train reveals that Homelander is building an army of soups. Later, as he explains this to his team, Annie suggests asking Butcher for help, but MM says that he has not heard from him since the sheep massacre. Meanwhile, a B-list millionaire superhero, Tech Knight, who has super senses, has also teamed up with Sage. He is having a Federalist Society party at his estate, and MM wants to infiltrate it to learn of Sage's plans. Annie wants Huey to take a break from doing any work, but he insists on joining the mission. MM finds out that another B-list soup, Webweaver, a superhero who shoots webs, has an invite to the party hosted by Tech Knight. Soon, MM heads off to see the superhero, and it is found out that the boys supply Webweaver with drugs, and in return he gives them insider information. Webweaver, already intoxicated with drugs, asks MM to give him one more shot in his back. MM is forced to give Webweaver an ass shot, but accidentally enters his web hole. Once the suit blacks out due to the drugs, they steal his suit and leave. Later, Huey disguises himself as the tall and lanky Webweaver. MM informs him that he needs to bug the estate so that they can listen to what Sage is planning and then get Tech Knight to the stables where Annie, Kimiko, and MM will ambush him. But what the boys don't know is that Tech Knight has invited the country's billionaires, government officials, Vicky, Homelander, Ryan, Sage, A-Train, and Ashley. Inside the party, Tech Knight explains to Firecracker that his grandparents were slave catchers and built the whole estate by the money collected through it. Meanwhile, Victoria can barely stand the racist, sexist, and even imagines blowing up her head at one point. As she wonders if the whole thing is worth it, Sage tells her what she is planning. The intelligent superhero states that she has all the knowledge to cure cancer, reverse global warming, and all the problems in the world, but she doesn't have the power to execute her plans. Moreover, she explains that her sister died of cancer as the doctors refused to look into Sage's cure research. She hopes to control these people who run the country and use them. Elsewhere in the Seven's Tower, Black Noir is fed up with his gig as no one takes him seriously or tells him how to play his part. He plans to leave, which has the deep worrying that Homelander could kill him. He tries to help by telling Noir everything he knows about the original Noir and emphasizes that he loved to kill people. The Deep also confesses that he does know that people laugh at him, but they don't once he beats them up, ending his speech by stating that violence is power. Back at the party, Huey arrives in disguise and is barely able to bug some places before running into Victoria, but she is unable to recognize him. Just then, Tech Knight steals him away from the party. Huey tries his best to portray as Webweaver, but Tech Knight becomes suspicious of him. Nevertheless, he takes him to his study room and uses a book to call an elevator. They go to an underground dungeon which has no network signals, and it breaks up his contact with the team, worrying Annie. As the boys plan to move in to extract Huey, MM shows them a suitcase full of halothane drug which can knock out anyone. Meanwhile, Huey learns from Tech Knight that Webweaver only got an invite as he agreed to be a sidekick to the superhero, who is a masochist in disguise. Tech Knight shows him around the dungeon and introduces him to his butler and another slave named Ladio, who is chained to the wall. Tech Knight then chains himself to a cross and asks Huey to start stripping. As he does this, Tech Knight orders him to sit on a chocolate cakes so that he can enjoy. A frustrated Huey complies to all of Tech Knight's weird requests. Just then, Ashley arrives in the dungeon and complains that they started without her, but Superhero apologizes and asks Huey to clean himself with sandpaper. Afterward, he chains up Huey to torture him and enjoy the pleasures of BDSM. Ashley changes her outfit and starts to play with him as well. Tech Knight uses his senses and realizes that Huey is stressed, so he explains that he can easily get out of it by simply saying Webweaver's safe word. Huey has no idea about the safe word, so he randomly blurts out a bunch of terms, further increasing Techmite's suspicions. Outside, Firecracker goes to meet with the Homelander, but he brushes her off. She leaves and goes to the washroom to punish herself for being a weirdo. Kimiko infiltrates the home to open the door for the others to come inside. Meanwhile, as Firecracker leaves the washroom, she ends up running into Annie, who starts to apologize for everything. Just as Firecracker's defenses go down, Annie drugs her and knocks her out. Elsewhere, Kimiko and MM try to open the hidden entrance to the dungeon and run into Sage. MM tries to stop her as Kimiko finds the door, but Sage brings up MM's daughter and tries to distract him. In a fit of anger and pain, he shoots her in the head when she runs to the intercom. The extra stress gets too much for him and he faints. A desperate Kimiko goes out and catches a train and begs him to help. She uses different book titles to communicate with him. In the end, he gives in and rushes MM to the hospital. There, a young black kid notices the superhero doing good work and smiles at A-Train for helping someone in distress. Meanwhile, Butcher's condition is getting worse as he sees Becca. She calls him out for hurting Samir and giving up on Ryan. He claims that he is saving the world, but she points out that he will simply be replacing Homelander with another one. He then runs into Joe, who explains that the war in Afghanistan changed him and he likes hurting people even if he pretends otherwise. He adds that after the war, he could not fit in with his family and wanted to get back to his job of killing people as soon as possible. Soon, he realized that he was never meant to be a husband or a dad who takes out the trash daily. He wanted to be a killer. Then he asks Butcher which type of person he is, the one who is going to save Samir or the one who is going to torture the virus recipe out of him. Back at the party, Sage is out of commission as she has brain damage. Due to her powers, she lives on, but her IQ is reduced to the level of a newborn baby. So Homelander is forced to explain their plan as he reveals that he wants everyone in the room to call the 25th Amendment and replace Singer with his presidential candidate, Vicky. However, the officials are not convinced as they ask how Homelander will handle the consequences and the different departments if they oppose the idea. Homelander fumbles and is unable to answer the questions. He points to Sage for help, but she is of no use. Just then, Vicky steps in and tells them what they want to hear. She promises them that everything will be all right and will take care of everything. Once she is the president, she will let the people present in the room do whatever they want. Everyone cheers and Vicky thinks this is all part of Sage's plan, who is simply enjoying her cupcake. Downstairs, Techmite senses that Huey is horrified by Ashley's sexual advances, which doesn't make sense as Webweaver enjoys bondage. He keeps asking for the safe word, and when Huey again says the wrong one, his mask is taken off. Techmite is ecstatic to see that he has Huey chained up and decides to disfigure and take advantage of him before alerting Homelander. But before he can get the party started, Annie and Kimiko finally reach the dungeon and take out Techmite. They chain him up and start to hit him. The torture doesn't get them anywhere since Techmite is a masochist and enjoys pain. Just then, Ladio gets free of the chains and gives them the billionaire's laptop. They use his eye to unlock it and then come up with the brilliant idea of giving away his money to charity, which has him breaking down. When Huey sends money to Black Lives Matter, he finally cracks. The superhero reveals that Homelander and Sage plan to use his prisons as internment camps, and that's all the information he knows of. With all the secrets revealed, Techmite's butler Elijah chokes him. He explains to the boys that he has always been supportive of him being a masochist, but he draws the line at prison camps. He promises to make Techmite's death look like an accident and also reveals that Webweaver's safe word was Zendaya. Following the mess, the group leaves the estate. On the other hand, MM wakes up in a hospital and learns that he had a panic attack. The doctor advises him to be a bit more careful about his health, as this can lead to an actual heart attack in the future. Meanwhile, in the prison, Kimiko has nowhere to go and continues to wait for Frenchie. At the boys' headquarters, Huey and Annie sit and wonder if Vicky knows about the prison camps. Huey also breaks down due to the sexual assaults of Techmite and remembers his dad's death. At Vought, Firecracker meets up with Homelander. She tells the superhero that Annie snuck into the estate and most likely killed Techmite. Homelander initially believes that she is the leak as she let Annie escape. However, Firecracker gives a big speech about how he has given her everything, so she will always be loyal to him. To prove herself, she has drugged herself to pump out breast milk, which she offers to him. Meanwhile, Butcher continues to push Samir, who confesses that if he makes a virus strong enough for Homelander, it will become airborne. Imaginary Becca pleads with Butcher to stop, as it would kill innocent soups including Ryan, Annie, and Kimiko. Butcher consults Joe about it, who wants to kill every superhero there is. Annoyed at Becca for being a caring mother, Joe finally snaps at her, shocking Butcher. Turns out, Butcher never saved Joe in the war and is just his imagination. The real Joe died on that last tour, and since the start, Butcher has been hallucinating him. Samir is also shocked to see Butcher talking to himself in a loud manner. Just as the episode ends, Joe reasons that he killed Ezekiel for Butcher, and that he is Butcher's subconscious, which means they both have the same mindset to eliminate all the suits in the world. Thank you for watching the video. For more content like this, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.